Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue with a new Maribel Blue Unfiltered. This is the interview portion, and y'all know how much I love doing interviews. People are so exciting. Some are animated, and I may not want to interview them, but I have a special guest. And believe it or not, I was thinking about it. The last time he even brought it up, the last time we had interviewed together was 10 years ago. How did time just fly like that? I have no idea.
Yeah, it definitely did. That was a long time ago.
Oh my God. Everyone, I want to welcome Chuck Platinum. He is a rap artist, a music producer, an advocate in some sort of way because he's been putting his spiel out there on what's been going on with society and social issues. And we want to talk about everything as much as we can. You know what I mean?
I make it hot, baby. You know I make it say.
Let's start from not from the beginning, but what have you been doing these past 10 years? Let's catch everybody up. Other than, I know you're producing music. I know that you're out there doing your thing. How has it been since the last time we spoke?
Wow, a lot of growth, a lot of different changes, moving from New York to Connecticut. I've been up here about 9 years. So, just being up here, choosing a different lifestyle, staying focused on the music. I produced a whole, oh my God, so many records. And since then, I think I had an album out. I think when you had interviewed me, gosh, I might have been, that's when I released because I remember doing,
You
I
did a
forgot that
song.
song. Yeah, that song was off I Am Legend. So there's been 3 I Am Legends since then. There's been other projects, got different groups and things going on. I've been on tour, I've been all over the country and started a radio station myself, and I just been, my hands is in a little bit of everything.
When you think about the challenges, you're talking about putting a radio station together. That is not easy. Who are you promoting on your radio station? I would imagine that you're promoting artists who aren't
Right.
officially signed to a big label, because there's
Right.
always been this back and forth with, should people sign on to a label? You think about the stories of TLC, New Edition. I think they were still living in the projects while they were famous.
Right.
When you think about artists like that, people actually thought they were making millions of dollars, and they were, but they were making millions of dollars for the producers, everybody that they had to pay to put all of that stuff together. When you think about situations like that, do you find yourself in a better place as opposed to going to the Grammys and winning awards?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I've always been an advocate for independent artists. Even when I was a kid, doing it, we had deals on the table with certain labels and stuff like that, and we didn't even, I didn't take the deals because I knew the deals weren't really conducive to what I had going on. So it's like I knew at an early age, I really kind of didn't know why, because I was still learning the business, but I just knew that, the contracts that were being offered was like, you know, it really wasn't something that I wanted to do. But I mean, everybody has different grinds, I mean, for me, it took a little longer for me to do what I needed to do and do what I wanted to do, versus a label. So when you have a major label who's backing you, you're gonna get that worldwide notoriety. You're gonna get known, and the sacrifice sometimes is, they're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in you, to market you and promote you. So you may never get paid off of that talent. And that's been a lot of gripes with people, is that, the label. But, you got to think about it. If you came to the door with just your talent, and, you have somebody investing in you, they're going to want to recoup their money back. So a lot of people talk about the major labels. I really don't have a problem with the major label. It's not something that I would do personally. They made superstars, and they made the people that they are today to be able to capitalize in other ways, maybe not off the music, which is unfortunate, but they're able to capitalize in other ways. So, me being a radio station owner, which was the original question, is me just focusing on the independent artists, because I think that mainstream, they have enough platforms and avenues that support major artists. So I just wanted to put something together based off the independent artists out there that's looking to get that exposure.
What have been the successes because of that startup for you? What have been the successes for other artists? Are they getting recognized? Is their music getting heard and recognized?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely with my platform, because it's a way of me giving back. That was another reason why I did it, because this is me being an elder statesman in the game. This gave me an opportunity to, let other people shine. And it's actually
Mhm.
been worldwide. I've had submissions from Africa and Japan and different countries, and just, people just want to get on that platform, because I don't charge people to get on the platform, because it was never really about the money for me. It was really about just exposing great talent to my network and getting people involved. So, the benefit for them was just getting exposure to different people, and people just taking my influence and being able to get discovered in new music. And we're still growing the platform, but
Mhm.
it's definitely beneficial to a lot of people that's been down with us so far. I've been May 30th would be 3 years since I
Wow,
did. Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. Since I started. So, it's definitely been beneficial to everybody who's touching. Plus, I have a radio show where I'm DJing as well.
Mhm.
So, not just the artists, but people that get sponsored by us too. We have fashion lines, we have magazines, we have other platforms that help, independent artists. So it just makes sense all the way around.
I think everything that you're saying is super important, especially for those that are coming into the industry. Have you ever had an artist that just felt down about the music that they were putting out, that they weren't getting the recognition they feel they deserve? People put in super hard
Mhm.
work in everything that they're doing. I think in their mind, because I've been in this position before where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put something together and it's just going to sell out and people are going to love it. And then I put it
Right,
out and it's like tumbleweed, and I'm saying I
right,
don't understand what it is that I'm doing wrong. How do
right.
you encourage an artist to just keep doing what they're doing regardless of what the world is thinking at that
Right,
moment?
right. You just gotta have it in you. I mean, for me, I had to create my own buzz. I had to create my own light. So a lot of times with indie artists, just artists in general, or people that started businesses or whatever your trade is, you just gotta really keep working at it and understand that, it's gonna take time. It's gonna take more, more money, and the biggest part is just like advertising yourself and putting yourself out there.
Right.
We're living in a time where we have social media, and this is really a great time for anybody who's putting a business out there or doing whatever they're doing, because you can pay for your own advertisement. You
Hmm.
could utilize these platforms to grow your audience and things like that. So I think a lot of times with artists that be discouraged, they're missing that part. A lot of artists I notice are missing the marketing part. Like, they make great music, but not everybody is great at marketing, or they're not investing in somebody who's great at marketing, which there's a whole, plethora of people that are out there that can do that. So, when you're really investing in yourself and you're really being honest about the talent
Right.
that you have, it'll work out for you. You gotta give yourself time and be patient with your grind. That's all.
Let's talk a little bit about something you said with social media. Think about it. In these past 10 years,
Right,
social media has really grown, sometimes not in a good way, and some parts in a good way.
right,
We get to see what's going on around the world, especially when it comes to social issues and politics. I think for me, and I can only speak for myself, I've come to a point that I can't take the word of mouth of somebody who is living here in this country and talking about what's going on in another country without being there. I can have respect for the person if I just happen to scroll on TikTok and I'm like, oh, look at what's going on in Iran right now. Somebody's there right now. And I'm seeing this experience right now. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
When it even comes to social media and marketing, how do you learn how to keep people's attentions? Because people's attention spans are so short. I mean, I can even speak for myself. And I really hate doing that because I like to give my full attention to someone who's sharing something. But when it comes to music, for me, that's an entirely different story. It should capture somebody's attention where they're listening to the music from beginning to end.
Right.
How do you keep that going?
I think I can only speak what's worked for me. When it comes to social media, it can't just be a combination of just music. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people get on social media and just try to sell people, rather than, you know, showing people your real personality. Like, everything that I post on my social media is not about 90% of the time is really not about my music. So when I do post about my music, people want to listen. And also, you know, just like I said, you know, sometimes you have to target, you know what I mean? When you're dealing with social media, everybody starts out with their friends, right? So, you know, you're starting out with your friends and you're starting out. So they're supporters. So when you're building a brand, you can't really expect your supporters to be the ones to, you know, support you. I know it sounds a little crazy, but you know, you have to really target your market. And, you know, that's the part where a lot of people are missing. They kind of put things out and they stick it on the gram or they stick it on Facebook or something like that, expecting for people that already know them to support them. And it really doesn't work like that. You know, the goal is to target new followers and new fans. Sometimes, you know, that can be organic, or sometimes, you know, it takes a little longer being organic. Sometimes you're going to have to pay for that. You know, it's just a combination of, you know, just thinking about when you're marketed something, right? Let's just say, you know, McDonald's got yesterday, I was you know, on the turnpike and I saw that they had a ranch bacon McCrispy sandwich. And I'm ordering whatever I'm ordering, and then I look down and I'm like, wow, this looks good. You know, so if it's appealing to somebody, they're gonna tap in. And that's really what it is. You can't force feed people who you are. It's just a gradual process. Again, it takes a lot of patience. That, you know, you got to realize that 80% of the people that's on your social media may not even buy into what you're doing. They may just scroll, you know what I'm saying, or they may just share it. And I was explaining this to somebody else too about, you know, just being grateful for what people can do, because people's attention spans are what they are. So if it's a share, if it's a like, if it's a comment, it all helps. You know what I mean? Somebody might purchase it, it's cool. Somebody might stream it, it's cool. But the combination of it all helps. So you just keep going and just keep promoting what you have and believing in it yourself, and, you know, people eventually tap in.
Is it fair to say, if you're disappointed about something, lack of likes, not to put that out there, not to vent? Because I used to do it in the past and not really realizing that it wasn't me, it was the way I was marketing the information. That it wasn't that nobody cared, it was the way it was being marketed. I would just go out and vent, I'm doing all of these things and blah, blah, blah. Nobody's paying attention. And then I really had to sit back and say, like, why are you taking it out on everybody? It's not their fault that they didn't see it. And periodically, like, I'll do that when I started building up my YouTube channel. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put it up, even though nobody's really paying attention, just being sarcastic, but still putting it up anyway, because it's still going to grasp someone's attention. But when it comes to music, not too long ago, I had seen somebody post up, I don't even know why I'm making music, like nobody is paying attention. And I had wrote, keep going. And this is what I found for me. Granted, I'm not making music, I'm making content, I'm interviewing people like yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? That to spread the word about your music, I'm talking about different topics. I have another channel where I'm more like in the coaching mental aspect of social issues. I realize I have to keep going. And when somebody is in that mindset, even you, have you ever felt some sort of way that you sat back and said, why am I doing all of this?
Nah, never.
Thank goodness.
I've been I've been around. It's funny because there was somebody that I used to associate with, and I used to tell them about themselves with doing that. And I tell them like, listen, this is the same people that you're marketing to. You know what I'm saying? So if you're kind of bringing that negative energy out there, you what you got to learn is that you may think that people are not paying attention, but everybody's on social media. Everybody's paying attention. Everybody is scrolling. So with me, I don't come from the social media era. When I started, I had to get out there and I had to, you really had to be great. You understand what I'm saying? Now it's easy to get on social media and promote yourself as one of the greatest people, but you actually had to, work at it. So thank God that I came from that era because I don't really worry about it. I use social media for the tool that it is, and I'm still learning even more how to expand myself and my content. And my content has grown a lot, just being more personable, you know what I mean? So that when I am advertising, and there's gonna be certain things, some things I post may get 100 likes. Some things I post, I like something I posted about one of my cars got 17,000 views on it. Something may get 50. You just have to keep. You don't know. Some people, unless you have one niche that people are gravitating towards. You got to realize that there's algorithms out there. Artificial intelligence that really controls these things based on how often may you post or, things that they think that people want to see. So what people just have to understand that some things, when it comes to social media and the content is just out of your control. You just got to keep posting it in. That's how things wind up going viral is something, people see something that may gravitate towards them and they'll share it with others and the process will keep going like that. So I would tell somebody, just don't be discouraged. If you get one view or two views, like I say with my music, I said eventually, no matter how long the albums are out there, eventually it's going to have to go platinum eventually. You're going to get enough streams where, you'll hit that platinum mark. It may be 10 damn years from now. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? But you can't worry about other people when you're putting out the content. You just got to make sure that it's great and something that you're happy with and the people will follow.
It makes me think, you talked about artificial intelligence, and it's frightening in the sense because the AI thinks, oh, that's what you want to see. And me being attuned to that shit, you know what I mean? I had seen something, I can't remember if it was on Hulu or Netflix, when people were talking about what was going on with Facebook, how Facebook was deliberately creating friction among people and get them to be arguing about shit that they weren't even thinking about beforehand or ever in their lifetime. People are not speaking to each other because of a lot of the political bullshit. I think there are things that create feelings that this AI tries to induce in people. When you think about Kanye West and the things that he was doing, when you think about Black culture and how far we came from slavery, plantation, using certain words. Do you understand what I'm saying? And straying away from that. And then feeling like, why is this culture trying to be pushed back into nonsense? You have people like MTG who just talk with her horse mouth. A lot of bullshit. You know who I'm talking about, right? I call her horse mouth. She doesn't know what she's talking about. This whole, this woke culture. And I'm saying to myself, you gotta stay woke. You understand what I'm saying? Are you
Right.
going to pay attention to somebody like Kanye West? Like, what was going through your head when he was talking about all that stuff? I don't want to get into, like, the specifics
Yeah.
because it's YouTube,
Right.
etc. But
Right.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What was in your mind? Because I'm saying to myself, did he not go to school and like study history and see what
Yeah.
happened back in Germany?
Yeah. I think with Kanye, I honestly I think some things that he was saying was relevant. I think some things also that we shouldn't be, even though we have freedom of speech, doesn't mean that we should speak on
Right.
everything. So, I respect I wasn't there during the Holocaust times. I mean,
Hmm.
we went through our own things as black people with slavery and, things like that. I think, he was always one that was kind of flamboyant with his opinions and things like that. I just really think that everybody, it's because he's in the spotlight, right? Because
Hmm.
everybody has their own political views, and he on the other hand, he has his right to have his feelings and speak on whatever he wants to speak on as well. And I think he just gets condemned a lot because he's in the spotlight. You know what I mean? Because people could say, I don't want to get into that as well on the platform, but
Hmm.
people could say all kind of let's just say anti things and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And you never stop the Ku Klux Klan, you know what I'm saying? Or
Right.
people that have their strong feelings on whatever political views or races or anything like that. I just
Hmm.
think that because of who he is, people just got offended. And not to say anything about the people that got offended. They had every right to be offended with their respective cultures and things like that. i
Right.
i just think that on the playing devil's advocate, I think that he
Hmm.
has a right to feel and speak how he feels, whether people agree with it or not. People could call him crazy, but he's actually a very well educated young brother. I think sometimes, at times, due to certain personal situations, may be a little misguided. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I just think he's a human being. And as human beings, that's the beauty and the curse, the gift and the curse about being a human being, is that, sometimes, we're not going to say things that everybody likes. And, we're going to put ourselves in positions where, somebody, I've done it too. I've said, I remember, supporting R. Kelly at one time, you know what I mean? And then now,
I was too.
yeah, and people unfriended me, they blocked me. I say, yo, I'm still listening to his music. And
Hmm.
people had unfriended me and unblocked me, blocked me. And even with him, I still have personal feelings about certain things in that
Right.
situation as well that I won't speak on. But, I think people are just entitled to their own beliefs and feelings, or,
Hmm.
I just learned how to adjust with just looking at people's feelings and saying, hey, I respect it. Even if I may not agree, it's not up to me to debate everybody's, beliefs or whatever they personally feel about whoever.
Do you think that people, when you talk about, sorry, my cat tends to join into the
Nah,
show.
it's cool. It's cool. What's up, kitty cat? It's all good. Cat
Do
said, I
you
want to be down.
Yeah, she's for real. She was part of another interview that I did, so she
Nah,
probably knows.
we
But
love the animals.
I know I love mine. When you talk about the misguidedness, I mean, let's just go
Hmm.
back to R. Kelly for a minute,
Sure,
because when all
sure.
of the stuff started to transpire,
Hmm.
and I was watching this one particular vlogger on YouTube who is very outspoken.
Right,
She's very much into the black culture. She talked about certain artist, so to speak, and was sued because this one particular artist sued her
right.
for constantly bringing her up in her videos. She
Hmm.
did talk about R. Kelly. She did talk about, well, she interviewed a relative that R.
Right,
Kelly had certain exposures growing up that
right,
wasn't normal, so to speak.
right,
The way he
right.
had his relationship with his sister that
Hmm.
is not particularly normal in the sense of how we grow up with our siblings. Thinking about that, do you think people miss the mark and say, you know what, still what he did is wrong? I don't advocate that kind of behavior
Right.
whatsoever, but like, why did this happen? Like, it seems like
Right.
nobody questions, why did this happen? How can
Oh,
we be a better people to
right.
other people to
Right.
avoid that kind of behavior if it can be fixable? I mean, granted, we're
Right.
not psychiatrists, but when you
Right.
think about somebody getting exposed growing up
Hmm.
in a way that they shouldn't
Hmm.
be because they're a child,
Right.
how can we as a people maybe stop that?
Right. And that's a great question. I think, and that's exactly what I was talking about is a lot of times what we do is, we build these people up, right? And we respect them for their talent. Now, with R. Kelly, it wasn't no secret as to what he was doing. This has been 30 years. It
Mm-hmm.
started with Aaliyah, and kept moving forward, and he got away with that, and then going into other things in the early 2000s into the present. um I can relate. I've been through some traumatic situations in my childhood, and if you don't get help, you it can lead you down a dark path. You know what I'm saying? I've
Mm-hmm.
been there, not necessarily wanting to do what he did, you know what I'm saying, or
Right, right.
allegedly. But I've been in positions where it's definitely where my sexuality was involved and dealing with different things and being molested and all of that stuff. Like, I openly talk about it because I've received therapy about things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I always try to see both sides of the spectrum. You know what I mean? He was in a position where you go from 0 to 1,000, right? And you have all of this money, you have fame, you have clout, you have people that's working for
Correct.
you, people
Mm-hmm.
that, there's going to be people that turn a blind eye. I think we all did, you know what I'm saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
we really, respected this brother's talent and what he brought to the table. And after a while, then we got the Me Too movement that comes along, and
Right.
then people decide that, hey, we want to talk about this now. But I stay away from those subjects in particular, because when I have conversations about people talking about different parts of that, it gets into a sticky situation. But I say for the brother, I don't, I'm not taking away what he did, or I'm not saying that what he did wasn't right, but I just think there's always two sides of the story. And I think, unfortunately, he's been kind of crying out for help,
Mm-hmm.
and putting, he put his own self out there at times, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that he was crying out for help. I think 30 years is a little harsh, but at the end of the day, like, when people talk about, well, he touched minors and things like that, yeah, he did that, and I think he should pay for his crime, but I don't think that throwing him in jail for so long without any kind of rehabilitation, like you were saying, I don't think that's gonna help either. You know what I'm saying? And I
Right.
think that certain people are just used as examples. I feel the same way about Bill Cosby. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? I feel the same way about him. And a lot of people don't agree with me about, certain things. I don't care. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, I think that when people are in the height of their careers, everybody want to be involved. I've been there too. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Where something may look attractive to you, and a person may turn a blind eye to whatever, whether it's you being married or whatever. People don't care until
Mm-hmm.
it's time to care. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
yeah, I didn't seen a lot of that, being in the music industry and stuff like that. Like, when you get to height, and I haven't been nowhere near R. Kelly's or Bill Cosby's height, but when you're a person in power at that time, trust me, a lot of things could go down that people don't even, because you can't fathom that because you're not in that position. But there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things that people let happen when money and stardom is involved. Like the little girl was invited to the R. Kelly studio and all of that, and her parents knew, they knew, people,
Right.
they gonna, when, like they want their kid to be a star. Well, we'll do anything for them to be, and you might be sacrificing your kid. You know what I'm saying? But then when you look at it in a certain perspective, it's like, well, damn, she was 15, 16, 17.
Right.
But, you know, I say where the parents at?
Right. That's right. And I have to agree with you on that. That's where it falls back on, because when I was growing up, okay, in the 80s, we
Right.
didn't have cellular phones. We had the
Right.
regular phone that
Facts.
was corded, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Some of them were the rotor-ring,
The
where it took
rotaries,
50
yep.
years to dial a number.
Yep.
And when I was growing up and I was not dating a boy, but you know, I liked him and he liked me, and we would talk on the phone. And when he called, my father answered the phone on the first ring, and he would sit right there. I'm on the phone and he's sitting right there looking at me. And it was, you can't really, you know, have a conversation when your parent is in your face.
Correct.
And let me tell you something. I really hated him for that. You know, I
Right.
did not like that he didn't trust me enough to just innocently talk on the phone, because
Right.
it wasn't going to go any farther than that. I didn't have the kind of parents that just didn't say, or that if I wanted to go somewhere, they'd be like, yeah, sure, you know, we'll take you wherever it is that you want to go.
Right.
And in that life, yes, it was different for me. But when you think about on a different spectrum, a child is going in for an audition. The child gets the part. The producers are talking up the part to the parent. Aren't the parents just going to buy whatever it is and trust whatever it is that the producers are telling them? Because all they're
Absolutely.
thinking about is fame and money and
Right.
where their child could take them to elevate
Right.
their lives.
Right. Right. Exactly. And you get a once in a lifetime shot with one of the biggest producers in the world. What you think is going to happen? Like, people don't look at who R. Kelly was. He was a very powerful individual. He was one of the biggest producers, songwriters in the world, working with everybody. So you just think about, you know, what would happen if there was a lifetime opportunity. And I'm not saying, you know, every parent thinks like this, but think about if you living in the hood and, you know, you have an opportunity to be around R. Kelly and your daughter is there and she want to sing or be a background singer. And he's
Right.
like, yeah, come on, I got you. And then next thing you know, she locked in the studio. You ain't there, or maybe you were. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, situations happen. So there, you know, it's a slippery slope. I'm not condoning anything that's happened, or, you know, the acts, of course, is wrong. You know, again, you have to think about, even when my situations happened to me at a younger age, you know, my parents weren't around. You know what I'm saying? Those were times where my parents were looking the other way. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, it's just a very unfortunate situation for everybody involved. And, you know, I can't take away anything from the victims or anything like
Right.
that. Or I'm not going to say that I think that all the stories was on you know, told, because to be very honest with you, he never really had a chance to tell his story in full anyway. And then people, when that Surviving R. Kelly thing came out, that was it. That's what really put him under the, you know, threw him under the bus. So, you know, it could go either way. You know, I could see it from everybody's perspective. And sometimes we, you know, going back to the social media thing, is that we build people up and then we see, and then, you know, it's like, you know, you could tear somebody down in a minute once if it's the popular thing to do. Sometimes people just speak on it because it's the more popular topic to talk about at that moment.
But when I think about like music as a whole, regardless of the genre of music, aren't the lyrics supposed to make you feel something, regardless of how uncomfortable it can make you feel? Wouldn't the same thing happen when this topic that we're talking about? We heard everybody's side of the story, but we didn't get to hear his side of the story. Don't we have a right to hear that? So what would be different hearing a person speak their side and then putting it into a song? Why is it that people are more than willing to buy it into a song than actually hearing a person speak their own experience. Not to say that it's going to make it right, but to have their voice heard regardless, so that everybody has all of the information and then they could make a decision themselves.
Yeah, and I think people ain't, we're intelligent people, and we're rationalizing this, but at the end of the day, people ain't gonna do that. They're gonna take what they're
Mhm.
gonna take. And just like, when he was making songs, like I hear people talking about, oh, he made the song like Your Body's Calling, and I'm disgusted now because I think he was talking now. I feel like he was talking about a kid at that time. And I'm like, motherfucker, you was making babies to that song. Come on, man. Now all of a sudden you think he talking about a kid. Like,
Right.
that's where I have, issues with people. That's where I have issues, is that people sway when the media, exposes and things like that. It's like, oh, I can't listen to this music anymore. But you were.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, you were.
Right.
I'm not gonna stop listening to R. Kelly music, because I don't know that man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
and I don't promote dealing with underage
Right.
women
You're
or
not
anything like
condoning
that.
his behavior.
Yeah, I just love the man. The man is a brilliant musician. It's just
Mhm.
unfortunate that some of his practices are what they were. But some people don't feel like that. They feel like, oh, I gotta take a stand somewhere. But
Right. Who was
whatever.
that guy that played the piano that he died a few years ago? Like, wasn't he doing the same thing?
Who was
He
that?
I forget his name. Damn it. I don't know if it was like Jack or something like that. He was like very famous and he played the
Mm,
piano. It's like old school, probably like 60s, 70s. You
okay,
know, I
okay,
mean
right.
the same thing could be said about Elvis Presley.
Yeah,
And I know people
yeah.
love their Elvis, but
Nah, there's a lot of
there
predatory
just seems to
behaviors
be
that go on.
exceptions. I hate to put it
Yeah,
out there, but there's
it
like
is.
exceptions going
It is.
on
Woody
that
Allen,
it's
all of them.
okay for, yeah.
They always dating kids and they married
Hmm.
teenagers and all of that. I think, like I said, I think they really just make they made an example out of him, because it's the same thing with OJ. You know what I'm saying? OJ, he got away with murder literally, and he goes for his fucking trophies, and he gets 10 years in jail for trying to get his shit back. You know what I'm saying? So I
Right.
think
Hmm.
eventually what is going to happen is, once you beat, because R. Kelly went to court, trial 20 years ago. People forget that. And he beat all of that the
Hmm.
first time. So
Yeah.
when you beat that the first time, and then you start, now you're gonna start pulling all kinds of things out. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I think it's like, that's where I feel about like the media and things like that. The media is not meant to be your friend anyway.
Right.
Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? When you get big media like that, like the
Hmm.
CNNs and CBSs and stuff like that, they're not made to be your friend. It's either gonna, it's gonna be some kind of catastrophic thing on TV, just like when we see the news and all of that. Like,
Of
it's
course.
yeah, it's not made to be your friend. So you're gonna be up there and praised when they did the same thing to Michael Jackson.
Hmm.
Same
Hmm.
thing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, I don't think Michael like touched no kids, and I just
Yeah.
don't think. But you never know. You just never know, really.
Hmm.
Because you don't know them people. We all
Right.
watching the TV and the media like everybody else. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. We gonna only go by testimonies and things and stuff like that. So I can't take away from anybody who's an alleged victim or
Hmm.
the convicted themselves. You know what I mean?
Right. But your inspiration when you're
Hmm.
creating your music,
Right.
where does your inspiration derive from? Does it derive from an experience that you had?
Hmm.
Does it derive even from listening to somebody like Kanye West? Because
That's a good
I
question.
listen to Kanye West. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't listen to him
Right.
every day, but there
Right.
are certain songs that I really do like that I
Hmm.
listened to. The guy that I was dating at the time, he had exposed me to Kanye West because I told him,
Right.
I said, listen, I don't listen to Kanye West. And he was like, well, if you're going to be my friend, you're going to listen. And I'm like, okay. And I did. And it just
Hmm.
opened up a whole new avenue of, wow, like this is what
Right.
I've been missing all of this time. Things that he sings about. It's very moving
Hmm.
what he sings and talks about. So I
Right.
understand when you said the intelligence. But
Right.
when you're listening to it, how is
Right.
your inspiration derived to create your own music, whatever it is that you're listening to,
Yeah.
not necessarily Kanye West?
Right. For me personally, I don't really get inspired by other people's music when I create. Usually when I'm creating, my process is a little different.
Hmm.
Because I like I put out what's really called like reality music. You know, it could be derived from my personal experiences or something that I may have, maybe something, a topic I want to touch on and stuff like that.
Right.
Other people's music, like I listen to it just as a fan, not
Hmm.
really more or less inspiration for myself, but
Right.
like when I listen to, a Kanye West or whoever I'm listening to, I'm basically going into their world, seeing their art as to who they are. So when I'm creating my art, it's really coming from a place of the soul. You know what I mean? It's coming
Hmm.
from a place of experiences. Like for instance, my when I put out my last project, which is called Curse of Virginia, it's like I was going through a very tough time at that point, and that's how I felt. I felt like, kind of like my world was, you get a taste of fame, and then you're going through stuff personally, and just kind of being in a different, certain mindset. Curse of Virginia is my next album that I'm working on. It's called Timing Is Everything. And the reason why I named it that is because like sometimes, you take time to grow and you
Hmm.
take time to evolve. And it's actually been one of my most difficult projects to write, because I haven't really been inspired to write. I've been doing so many other things that, I'll jot things down and come. That's how I usually create anyway. Like I'll jot things down and kind of piece it together. But it's like really kind of like the direction. I kind of let the universe talk with the direction. So that's what I was taught, actually by somebody that's very well known in the game. When I was actually A&R in their project,
Hmm.
they said, the best way to make music is kind of let the universe speak to you and don't rush the process.
Right.
And, I used to be one to try to do projects every year and stuff like that. Now, my last project, I haven't did a project in 2 years. So it's like when people get it, it's gonna be, I'm getting into that kind of Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z stage in the game where when I release something, it has to be something that's going to be powerful. It
Hmm.
can't be something that I'm just throwing together or something that's
Right.
gimmicky or anything like that. It has to be something that's going to touch, just like my last project did. It touched a lot of people, and this one is going to be like it has to be saying something, or else I'm just not going to put it out. You know what I mean? So that's what my inspiration comes from: life,
Hmm.
just life experiences, just being in tune with whatever's going on at the moment in the world, and just trying to incorporate that all into the sound.
When you measure your life from 5, 10 years ago
Hmm.
until now, are there any regrets in between? Are there any successes? Are there anything that you're feeling in between 10 years ago
Mm,
until now? What's the
mm.
first thing that comes to your head?
Um, whew, it's been a lot of growth. You know what I'm saying? Just growing and growing pains as well, because I dealt with a lot of lessons. Like I had to really grow up. You know what I'm saying? Like where that 10 years ago I was in my 30s. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm 5 years from 50. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
it's a whole different mentality. Just dealing with life, just trying to just figure out life and figure out, dealing with traumas that you had dealt with as a young person, and now even like in the last few years dealing with the pandemic, and
Hmm.
losing a whole bunch of people, questioning my mortality. You know,
Right.
why am I why am I alive and this person is not here? And you know, just dealing with a lot of that. Just even in the last, you know, fuck 10, you know, just dealing in the last 3 years has been
Right.
crazy. You know what I mean? But going back to what you were saying about the last 10 years is just a lot of growth. You know what I mean? Just a lot. That's why I was talking about in the project. Like, I can't just, you know, like when I put out this next project, it's gonna be like, you know, you're gonna hear and see the growth because I can't just talk about the same things anymore because there's been so much that's happened since my last project and you know
Right.
what I've been going through. So yeah, it's just it's really the one thing that one word that I could say that you asked is just growth. Is growth and growing pains and going through shit, going through life, and thank God that I'm still here and
Right.
survived all of it. Don't know
Exactly.
how I did sometimes, you know what I mean? But I'm here, you
Believe
know.
me, I feel you and everything that you're saying. When I was living in the Bronx, there really wasn't that inspiration to want
Hmm.
more. So there's a
Right.
reason why we're here at this moment in our lives doing what we're doing.
I
And
agree.
finally, I just want to say one more thing. I
Hmm.
was watching Lizzo's interview on Howard Stern, and one of the questions that he asked her, when you're making music, are you doing it for yourself or are you doing it to appease your audience? And when you were talking about that 10-year span and not
Hmm.
wanting to do the same music,
Right.
are you putting out music thinking about your fans and your audience? Or when you're putting it together, are you doing it for yourself?
That's a great question. It's hybrid, you know what I'm saying? Because of course, like for the fan base, you know, you always think about the fans when you put out the music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people they expect a certain thing from you. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes like even with my projects over the years, like they've all grown from, you know, where they was at, even from like the last time I did an interview with you and I did that song. The music has grown and changed so much from that point. And
Right.
that project came out, geez, 12 years ago. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, you know, even from that point, it's just, you know, it's partial of the fans, but mostly for me is challenging myself as an artist,
Right.
challenging myself as a producer, just challenging. Usually when I'm doing a project, and this is something exclusive for you. I don't tell people this. The reason why I create sometimes I just got some new shit, you know, because I'm a nerd, and sometimes I got some new shit that I want to try out, and I'll be the guinea pig and a
Mm-hmm.
project could come out of it. But mostly it's like my music is more of a like if you really want to get to know me, and a lot of people have said this as well, so that means that the mission is accomplished. Like you could really listen to my music because I don't talk a lot. Like I don't do a lot of interviews and things like that. So I usually put everything into my music. So, you know, if you really want to get to know who Chuck Platinum is, you know, you'll listen to my body of work, and from, you know, the time that I've created, you know, even going back to the early 2000s and the 90s is chronological. So if you listen to my music chronologically, which is kind of difficult to do because my music is scattered all over the place, but one day I'm gonna put it all in a chronological order, and when you unlock and start listening and locking in, you'll be like, oh shit, okay, all right, I get it. I get it, you know. So it's like hidden gems, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
I tell people it's more or less like a train, and you know how a train go. You start at the beginning at the first
Right.
stop, and
Mm-hmm.
people get on or they get off at those whatever respective stops.
Yep.
So I'm just thankful that more people are getting on and riding this ride with me.
You think about the different stations. I mean, I went right like to the 4 train.
Right, right. Talk about it.
I went right to the 4 train, because each stop represents something different. And you have to live in the Bronx to understand that.
That's a fact.
If you never lived in the Bronx, you don't get it. You know, even the one train, you don't get how each stop works and how people are different and so on and so forth. Chuck, I want to thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. It's different because we're not face to face, but here we are. We're still here. We're still growing. We're still doing what we love to do. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for everything that you said. I love these deep conversations. Like we can go on all day with this.
That's a fact.
I'm hoping in the 10 years I've gotten better with questions because
definitely the interviews is great. But you was great before. You one of my favorite people. So
I try to get like deep with people. Appreciate you just opening up that door and sharing.
I appreciate you as well.
Ever so grateful. So I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. And my cat just moved. He can't see anything. So he's the blind cat. Actually, his name is Elvis.
Oh, God.
I don't know how he got that name. He still had his eyes when he got that name. He just came into the room and I yelled out Elvis, and that became his name. And with all that being said, instead of closing out with my regular music, we are going to close out with one of Chuck Platinum's music, Truth versus Truth from the Genius Project. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Curse of a Genius, but it's good.
Curse of a Genius. I want to get it right. Curse of a Genius. And I'm going to leave it in there because, you know, I'm not perfect. Always remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.
We way up. I keep it low, don't like the flash. Only come out when you talking cash. They don't respond cause they all broke, but they talk about how they selling dope. These niggas cap, they selling dreams, can't rap but